Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well. Happy Sunday. Hope you all had a nice week. It's a beautiful day today in California. We're having a little bit of a winter heat wave, and no one is complaining. So, first thing, the jumping around a little bit. I'm trying to find a new time that works. So, just, keep an eye out for it. Like yesterday evening, I put out a post as to the time. I wasn't able to send out the link. I only feel comfortable now sending it out via my laptop, and I'm not always able to. So, also, I have found that things are coming to me during the week. For those who have been with me since the beginning or close to it, the first year or so when I started teaching, before the recording teachings, it was a little bit spontaneous, a little bit on the wild side. I would sometimes give 20, 25 minutes notice and off I would be live. And there was something about that, the spontaneous nature, when I felt inspired. And 2 weeks ago, a teaching came to me, and I played it out in my head, and it was quite good. And then it left, and I can't remember it. I know it'll come back because I stopped it from thinking about the whole thing before I had, so the energy would still be here. But I kind of wanted to go live with it at the time because it really was something, and I was in a certain space. So I'd like to invite you all, if you haven't, to set up, click what needs to be clicked. I have no idea. Let me see here. To receive announcements, like little notices. I hope if when people click on it, see, I don't have the right thing. I guess subscribe, I don't know. It's not for the numbers, but it's so you can get notices. Because I would always give like a little notification ahead of time. So if you would like to receive those, please click for that. And I would, of course, also post a link and always try to give 20, 30 minutes notice ahead of time. I don't know how often I'm going to do this, but I do find, I do sense a freer period, so to speak, with me and with how things are coming up. And I think I would like to have a little more spontaneity to it. I'm doing a lot more practice daily, and things are moving fast. And sometimes I kind of want to share things. And it's always kind of nice to do it live to those who are able to listen to. And of course, they would be sort of digitally optimized for sound and then put in the video section, and then the link sent out, and it would make it to the PDF. So with the table of contents, and it would be in the archive. So those who aren't able to listen to them, no problem. But if you feel called, feel free. And maybe I'll put a little something about the topic that I'm sort of thinking of discussing. I don't know how often this will happen, but the last week or two, there were a couple times that I'm like, you know what, I wish I could just log on. And I'm like, well, maybe next time I should. So I kind of wanted to say that. Anyway, it's nice to be with you all today. Hope you've all been practicing. And for those who haven't listened to the teachings recently or since mid-December, I would invite you to sort of go back and listen to them. We're sort of in a new phase, and we're going deep into mantra, and I am not holding back on the teachings. It took 2 years of teachings until energetically we got to this place. And I've been touching upon these themes throughout, but discussing different levels and different ways and different topics. But now we've really homed in the inner path, finding God within, discovering our undiscovered country. Now, the layout of this inner space has been documented for centuries and centuries by teachers, mystics, prophets, sacred texts. So a lot of it is known, but we each have our own particular landscape, what we need to go through and touch in on and release. But those are sort of the details specific to us and are very important. But at the same time, the overall concept of what we are doing is the same for all of us. It's a structural thing. It's how we're made. It's how we're built. It's what happens or happened, or how the construct of our existence. So the techniques worked in the past, work today, will work in the future. Because the underlying ground, the reality, is pretty much the same. It's just the details are different for us individually and culturally and societally, and different history, different struggles, different events, the details. But that being said, the overall path is remarkably similar. We use the names of God, and I try to use my experience and what I've learned and still learning to translate, interpret, present. That's good. To present it in a way that is understandable to us today. In a way that most works to us today. What we go through, who we are, is different than somebody a couple centuries ago or a couple thousand years ago. So to make it relevant, live, and fresh. Because it is very much an undiscovered country. Because that's from our perspective. If we haven't gone into that exploration, for those who haven't, it's very much an undiscovered country. You're an explorer, and you've never gone there. And so in a real sense, it is an undiscovered country. But also in a real sense, it's not. Because many, many people have made this journey, and there are many, many teachings describing the landscape, how to go about it, how to work with it. So it's not discovered, but it's like going out in the world. I've done research, I read the guidebooks, I know where I want to go, but everything I do is discovering something that's not discovered yet, for me personally. But there's guides, and I have comfort and the knowledge because of that to make the journey. I am not Magellan going off into somewhere that nobody has documented before. The path within is well laid, well walked, and where it leads and how to get there is not really up for debate. It's all well documented. So this is not fast and loose. This is not the 1970s. This is ancient. Ancient. Just, not as out there today. But there were periods of time that this was out there. The path had to be very individual. Teachers might not have been as present. Services might not have been present. Most people were illiterate, so reading sacred texts, that just wasn't even, and getting a book. There was no typesets, so it had to be handwritten. Books were a fortune. Even pamphlets, little parchments, had to be copied by hand. And are they authentic? By real teachers. All these problems we don't have today. But back then, it was from mouth to ear. And then the person took what they got, and then they had to work on it to get the realization by actually practicing it. Because that was a road that was very available. And then once you got somewhere, hopefully you find that teacher back or another one, or you had the fortune to be living, traveling with him. And they tended to be male back then, but maybe not always. And then you grow. But you grow by walking it. This is why we've really entered a period of practice. Not just for winter practice, but because that's the whole path. Everything I've sent before is to kind of show the lay of the land, why this is legit, why it makes sense, and our understanding of ourselves, our minds, our energies, our bodies. We're going to get more into our bodies. We're getting there. And all of that. So the undiscovered country, you already have a map. You understand what's going on with us, with you, our psychology, our sipharotes, our energies. We're getting more and more into chakras, which I've sprinkled a little bit throughout. I don't know why. It hasn't materialized that I've just really gone through it all completely, but there were periods where I gave more details. All of these things are part of the undiscovered country. It's the geography, the topography, the layout, the lands, the ravines, the rivers, the winds, the climate, right? Desert, water, how we go through things, emotional turbulence, a lot of the topics we've discussed. So we have skills on how to navigate. We have skills on what to do, how to do it. And the practice to this point has given us abilities, like a weightlifter in a gym. You start out small, you do a little bit by a little bit, and suddenly you're benching. You do more, you do it for years, people start coming to you for advice because you demonstrate a certain ability by your manifestation. But you could never manifest as a weightlifter hadn't you lifted the weight. Right? And so we're walking the path. Right? So I advocate study, and Lord knows that I provide a lot of knowledge to study. And if you're relatively new, don't be afraid of the backlog, or that you're only understanding 40% of what I'm saying now and you don't know what the sephirots are and you think the chakras are the craziest things ever. And I'm a little loopy for mentioning them. I used to think people were loopy for mentioning chakras, like, whoa, this is some 70s pot stuff. No. You leave an open mind and you realize with time, you can go into the PDF or you keep listening and then I fill in some blanks and it makes sense. I've had new teachers I've come in on 30 years into their teachings and I'm like, whoa. And all the topics were new at a whole new level. And I'm like, okay, well, what is he teaching now? Let me see if I could understand that. And then I'm like, wow. And then I was so grateful for the history that was there. Because then I just started going through that and doing different practices, finding the practices that worked where I was at. And it was not necessarily the practices that most of his students were doing that were with him for 23 years. Because they had walked that road before, maybe 15 years ago, but I hadn't. And I needed to do that thing for wherever I was at. So I found those teachings in that I was at, and did those. And still learned what he was teaching. And when I progressed, I had so much knowledge. But my road, my path, my undiscovered country, and I am where I was, and now is the perfect place. I teach from A to Z as completely as I can. If you've been with me for the last 2 years, even if you've been practicing, unless you have some particular talent, it is doubtful that you're able to do more than 60 to 70% of what I'm saying, because it takes time. Even if you could do 30 to 40% or 25, that's huge. But it's all there for you. And if you listen and you understand, you're like, okay, I got to do that. No, you don't. You do where you feel you are to do. And I know I keep repeating this theme, but we keep getting more and more people, thankfully, and we will continue to get more people by God's grace. But I remind you, what I'm teaching now is the full enchilada on mantra work. It is the full enchilada. So you try to understand it, but you realize your practice is where it is, and that's perfect. Do not overextend yourself where it's not. You'll get discouraged. It won't work. And you're not stretching yourself. I mean, in a sense, you're trying to stretch yourself, but you won't stretch yourself that way. Because it's like you're on a bike, beautiful bike, and it's gorgeous, and it gets you where you need to go. It does 5 miles per hour. And you want to hop on the 10 speed because, the 10 speed, so off you go. Well, the 10 speed might only get you to 2 miles per hour because that ain't your vehicle. That, or you can't ride it and you're all frustrated. Or that you just fall off it and then you stop riding the bike. The 5 mile per hour bike, by riding it, transforms, becomes the 10 speed. You hit the 5 mile thing, you're there, but suddenly you realize, hold on, how is this bike getting me to 8 and 10 and 12 and 30? Because you realize it's a bike. Same with mantra. You do it, and suddenly you're like, whoa, levels open up. And you realize you just naturally are doing things which you thought, which I would be describing, which you thought you would never be able to do, because it's open to that space. So you start where you are, and it's perfect. And you find what appeals to you. The type of practice, what names you use, how much study you do, Proverbs, Torah, whatever, songs, traditional prayers, your mix, your path. Only you know yourself well enough to guide you. I don't know any of you. I present. We ultimately are our own guide. We know ourselves best. And it's a beautiful path. Mantras are our guide. The sacred syllables and frequencies of God, by bringing them into ourselves, by manifesting them, by manifesting God's frequency, by saying His holy names, which is mantra, brings those frequencies into us. They're always there. Remember, the Shekhinah always flows. The Spirit of God is here, the inner temples within. But we cause it to emanate like a sun. We start feeling the rays. It's like there's a light bulb. We turn the knob. This is before we do touch thingies like we do nowadays. Just think an old-fashioned light bulb, and there's a little knob on the side. And the more you turn it, the more the light increases. So we have a certain light in us. Oh, this is such a great analogy on so many levels. Oh, thank you, Lord. So we have a little light within us, and we turn, right? And that increases the luminosity, the frequency, the energy that comes forth. It gets brighter. By doing mantras, we tap into the energy of God within us, and by turning it higher, it comes into our bodies, and that light, that divine energy of healing and wisdom, of shalom, of care, of increasing our frequency, moves more within us. And it's a complete path in that way. That light contains wisdom and intelligence. It clears our pathways so we think clearer, understand deeper. We get our intuition, little thoughts, little, oh, maybe I should do this, becomes stronger, becomes more accurate. It's always accurate, but there's a certain field around it that kind of throws us off. An inaccuracy that we lay on top of it. Because other things are coming into how we read those impulses that throw us off. That's not part of the original sort of instinct, but kind of are on top of it, and we can't tell the difference. And that's part of the clearing. But as we get that, that's wisdom. That's knowledge. That's something we can get from a teacher and from texts. But this is the important point of mantra teaching, which I mentioned last week. Wisdom, intelligence, and guidance comes from the practice. This is how in the past people have been able to do practices on their own, and then they come out as masters with not as much guidance from other people. Now, they were taught initially by masters on how to do the practices, and they would have only been taught if they were certain people of a certain clarity and purification, because they would kind of be off by themselves a little bit. Right? So if you teach the wrong person certain techniques, you can get a disaster if there's not a real structure of guidance. So you see? So this analogy you have to be careful of. But I mentioned, so this is not for everyone, because we need guidance. I needed guidance. I needed a lot of text to understand. So I feel comfortable doing it. But also, you understand the ravines and the rivers and the lakes. But the pure teaching of mantra is the name, the vibration is complete. Because it clears us, and therefore that intuition, that pure voice within, the voice of God that's within us, and it is, trust me, can come forth, that contains intelligence and wisdom. But the issue is, how do we distinguish that voice, that clarity, the voice of the Shekhinah, from our projections, not hearing it or hearing it properly, or understanding it properly, or having an overlay of things that happen, trauma, what we would like it to sound like. And therefore we project on that instinct, that voice, that clarity, something on top of it. And we don't realize it. And we think that's the instinct, but we don't have the sensitivity to see that we threw it off by our energy. It wanted to say X, but our energy made us think it said A. So as the energy was manifested, we threw it to A without knowing it. So we think, oh, it meant A, but no, it's saying X. That, in a way, is the path to release these issues, these energetic rivers and flows and storms of our past, our society, all these overlays that kind of, the landscape is green, but we see it as blue. And it's not our fault. It's these overlays, these colored glasses that we have in front of our face that stops us from seeing clearly. So we go around the world as saying it's blue. And maybe our whole society has that by what happened before we were born or during our lifetime. And we're all saying it's blue. Right? Some master comes out of the mountains and be like, oh, Lord, and wants to run right back into the mountains because they're all crazy. It's green. What do I do? How do you show people that it's green when everybody says it's blue? Or you think it's blue, but somebody thinks it's orange, and somebody thinks it's pink, and somebody sees it as violet. And in a way, that's a lot of what's going on. We all don't quite perceive the reality. And it's to the extent that we don't. And there's a certain cultural perspective on how we see it that we all kind of have in common. But then also individually, we don't. And that's the undiscovered country. To see the green if it's green. See the blue if it's blue. When our instincts come up, it comes up like a pure, and we see it for what it says, not making it something that it wasn't. And that's what people sometimes call the voice of God from within. It's nothing very mystical. It's just what's there. What voices do we listen to? What influences us? How pure or impure is it? What's the intent? What's our intent when we listen to it? We know it's off, and off we go listening to it. Well, right? Or we don't know it's off. In a way, we're the captains of our own ship. By doing the names of God, we start circulating another vibration which clears it all up just by doing the practice. I know I've said similar things for several weeks, but this is the core bedrock, the core premise of mantra. The foundation, the premise is, my English, the intellectual idea, the foundational concept of mantra. We bring in a pure energy to interact with everything else that we are, and can even interact with our external world from us manifesting it, and it fixes it all. It's a path. And as you walk it, that beautiful 5-mile-per-hour bike, one day you finish a practice and you realize that you had become a 10-speed going downhill at 90 miles per hour, and you were completely proficient at it. And you're like, whoa, what just happened? And you're like, oh my, wow. So, the main topic I wanted to talk to us about. And I think I've touched about the importance of this often enough now to not go back as to why this is important. But there's a lot of people who want to study, and there's a lot of this and a lot of that, but the rubber meets the road when you do the practices. I studied for 2 years before I felt comfortable really doing the practices a lot. Sort of putting my toe in the water, doing a little bit, and at some point I'm like, in HP, you can do it or not. But all the learning's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. It gives you the comfort to move forward, but it doesn't help, ultimately. Because at some point you won't understand the teachings because it's paired with what you practice. You can't understand fully at 10 speed. You could read all the manuals, but until you do it, parts of the manuals won't even make sense because you're not understanding what it's referring to because you don't have that experience. So I'm not going to mention those type of foundational things in the future because I don't want to repeat myself too much. But I really wanted to hit this ground, this hard, really put an emphasis, because mantra is all about practice. The teachings on mantra are the teachings on how to do the practice. That's it. It's about relaxing. And so we're going to work on the body, and I want to touch about releasing. We can hold a lot. And we don't realize it. the other day, I thought, oh, I'm pretty clear, though a lot has been happening. And then I did a deeper practice, and I was shocked on how much was being released. And I found blocks of energy just almost like fragmenting like a glacier. It lost its solidity in my body, and then just chunks came out. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? And that's the thing. You often don't realize what you're holding, what's there, until it comes up for being released. And one becomes horrified. That one had no concept of it, but that one didn't realize that that much heaviness and density was there. You don't realize it until you're in a different place and you look back and you realize, oh, that was not a good place to be. So what I invite you to is to find a place you can decompress with no noise, no distractions, nothing to interrupt you. And I suggest you go into nature. Off on the trail. I would go on a trail where it's not too popular. And then I would go off the trail a little bit, not that you get lost, but that you just have a place where if somebody walks by, you won't necessarily hear them or see them or they see you. Just a private spot. And you lie down, bring your prayer beads if you have them, put your phone on airplane mode. This is your time. And you find a place not too sunny, not too hot, where you could lie down on a blanket, but where you could still feel the ground, or on some grass that's comfortable. And you lie down on the ground. Could be have a little blanket, that's fine, but not too thick. You want to feel the energy of the dirt underneath you. It helps heal us. It grounds us. We can relax into it, and it affects the energy in our body, and it helps the energy that not in proper frequency, energy that's being held on by us, but so desperately wants to let go. That helps. And by relaxing and breathing and just letting go and drifting deeper into our bodies and releasing deeper, we could find ourselves kind of shaking a little bit, or we feel in an exhale something heavy in our breath just leaves, a density, a heaviness, or we feel something kind of break off energetically in our bodies, and we feel just energy leaving, and we start feeling lighter, that we're sinking deeper and being able to feel the ground beneath us more and more. Like we've become a little heavier into the ground. It's a practice to release. The work of mantra is to release. There are many practices on working with the body to help us release. Like yoga, exercise, all these things help, and the aligning of our channels within us all help us release. By lying back on the planet where there is no sounds other than the birds, the wind, and releasing creates an open space that invites us, that gives us the opportunity to radiate out, to allow to move from us things that need to move. And we don't necessarily focus on anything. The practice is relax, let go, relax, 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 let go, and allow things just to. When we practice, I say breathe, relax, relax, breathe out. It's allowing to have that fluid motion to start circulating those rivers within us that are blocked, that are stuck. Things, reservoirs of things that sort of need to find that gateway out and through. Because we're not meant to hold any of that. It's the muck, the fog, the dust on top of the stained windows of our cathedral. The centuries of muck and blackness that's on the stones of our temple. The rust that's on the doors. We're just letting it go. We don't need to necessarily scrub. We're just opening. It wants to go. It's held on by the solidity. So when we have practices of the names, that gravitational force that holds it all together like it's stuck, and we don't even realize that it's there until it starts moving. Because it can't stay on without the pressure holding it on. So if we create an environment where we relax and let go, that force field relaxes and then it pops out because it's not part of us, it's foreign. So that's the concept behind this. It can help if you, a little alcohol to help relax. Yes. Whatever helps you kind of relax, release, let go. Right? If there's a tea that helps you relax, you want to create an environment where you could relax. And if you fall asleep, well, that's very healing to sleep in nature. And then you do it again. And then at some point you won't fall asleep, or you try to just do the technique. But the point is to relax. And then you could also get to know if you have a prayer bead. And you don't necessarily say any names. You could say the names a couple times at the beginning to bless your practice, or say a prayer. And you should be in a place where you feel safe, to relax. And then you could say the names at the beginning or during if you feel called to, if there's a particularly difficult thing that you feel, or you get a flashback of something. You use the name to help you get through it, whatever name you feel you ought to use out of your sort of name toolkit that you're developing. But then you could also have an invitation to work with the beads you have. All those stones have specific properties. This is how you could learn to discover how it can help you heal. What properties did it have? Did you look in the Book of Stones, the first edition, mind you? I've spoken about that about May or June. What properties does it have? Were you drawn by how it felt when you held it? If so, there are properties that help you. You were drawn to a certain color. Maybe that lines up with the properties. So after you relax, you put those stones, and they've been blessed by your practice and empowered by the energy of your practice, where you feel you need help, and then see how the stone might help you. Does it relax and suddenly things move and you feel better and it helps heal you? And if so, then you found the right stones for your prayer beads. And it could change with time. Do you not feel anything yet? Well, try different parts of your body and see if it helps with certain things. And you trust your instincts where you place them. And that's how you learn. There are many things on this planet that help us on our path. Minerals, stones, are part of them, like quartz, turquoise, so many of them, lapis lazuli, citrine, amethyst, tiger's eye. There's just so many, and I'm not thinking of a list because I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next a little bit. But there's a whole thing to investigate, and they help us. It's how our energy meets the energy of the stone. Does it have an invitation to help you relax? I'm working, to give myself as an example, with a stone that I have never used before. It's new. I've been using it for months, doing my practice, and I do feel it when I hold it. But at the beginning, I used to feel it a lot. And I'm like, why am I feeling it less? Well, first thing, I'm not putting it out in the moon, which does help these stones clear themselves and empowers them. Most stones are better off in the moonlight than in the sunlight, but that's not always true for all of them. And I realized, well, I need to redo that practice with this stone. It's been a while since I've used prayer beads. And I remembered what I used to do in the past. I'm like, oh, and I realized I need to clear them in water to release the energies. This stone apparently accumulates a lot very easily, more so than some of the other stones. And that's why I don't feel it as much. It's all full of what it's picked up from me and the environment. Yes, the stuff is real. Just keep your mind open. And so you learn how to work and engage with your particular stones. It doesn't seem to work as much in the lower chakras, lower part of the body. I started putting it around my head, and there I'm like, oh my God, that's where it started really working. And it made sense based on what the stone is. Made a lot of sense. But a lot of stones tend to work with all parts of the body. I've never really encountered one that tended to work only with the upper chakras. Now, I've worked with stones that are high energy stones called storm, S-T-O-R-M, stones, or lightning stones. They're really powerful. They have a lot of energy. Don't work so much with mantras because they kind of overpower the mantras because there's just so much oomph to them. But, quartz has a lot of oomph, and it really works on all parts of the body. Turquoise really helps heal all parts of the body. This one really seems to only like the upper chakras, the third eye, the crown, the throat, the skull area. Very interesting. And so by doing it, I discovered how to work with it. And I saw how it unlocked energy. And then I could feel my whole body better. It helped realign. And then I could actually feel that stone more in the lower parts of my body. Do you see how it works? It's an aid. It helps. We're bringing out an outside object that we've blessed that has real properties. Look at the Book of Stones, the first edition. They've changed this second, and I just don't even know what that's about. The first one. You could buy it used everywhere. It's been out for 25 years. Look at my website. There's a link. It's really something. And you could actually pull it up working on, and they had a little write-up on it, right from the Book of Stones. And it was free, and it was out there. It wasn't complete, mind you, but it had enough. So... And I don't mention mine because I don't want to draw people to that because I'm using it, therefore you want to use it. No, you use the one that you feel drawn to. Now, I've done a lot of work with my lower chakras, so I'm not surprised that I've picked one that only works on the upper. But that's not going to help you as much if you have work to do in the first 2, 3, or 4, 5 chakras. And it's not that one's better than the other. It's where you have the need currently. Does that make sense? So it's really what you're drawn to. And so when you're lying out in nature and you're relaxing and you've relaxed, then grab your prayer beads and use it not as something to do a recitation of mantras, the names of God on, but as something that you've blessed through the names, that the names and the energy of God has gone through the beads, the minerals, whatever it is that you're using, and you put it on where you feel called to put it on your body, and then see what happens. Is it medicine? Does it help move something and unlock something? Is there a place where you have pain or it really feels stuck? When you put it there, what happens? You put it there and relax and put your attention there and see what's happening. Do things move, and does your spine start to crack as energy moves up? Do you stretch and you feel you could stretch in a deeper way? Is it an aid to your relaxation? See, we don't have to do this alone. There are teachings, there are practices, there are sacred names, and there's actually real objects out there that do help. Our body is energy held together. Stones, certain ones, have energy. Names have energy. What happens when we start mixing those? You find the right one, it's medicine. It helps. It's a comfort. It does more than what you're able to do yourself with the name currently. And it's sacred and blessed because it's part of your practice. So it's not just a stone anymore. It's the stone plus the vibration of the name. And you learn to care for it. You learn how often to wash it. Put it in the sun. Citrine is very much a sun one, mind you. Amethyst actually doesn't like the sun. It will take out the purple. So you actually need to put moonlight. Turquoise doesn't like sunlight. It likes moonlight. Mine, a little sun, but I suspect it's mainly moon as well. But I think it likes a little sun, but not something that you let it soak for 3 hours in the full day sun. You learn the properties, but when it's charged, now you have something charged that emanates a certain frequency and has a way of interacting with the human body, which is well documented in the Book of Stones. I trust that book. The first discussion of the person who speaks, I like what he says. There's a second person who has a discussion. Take it or leave it. Some of it's out there, some of it's helpful. I don't know what that's about. But the first guy, it's solid. And the description above of what its properties and how it works with different parts of the chakra system, that I could vouch for. To the extent of the stones that I worked with, but I have never found it to be wrong. But you look at it with an open mind and then see how it works with your body. And if a stone doesn't work in that way, then maybe you go through the book and see and investigate the stones that do work for where you feel. If you have a lot of pain and heart issues, you look for stones that work a lot with the heart. And some work and some don't. Like a rose quartz. Look, that never did anything for me. But there's a rhaphodolite, it's a red stone that works for the heart. That's night and day. Rolodolite. That night and day works for me. But another stone for the heart, which is pink quartz, I think it's called, never done anything for me. Actually makes me feel ill. I don't know. But rhododolite, a lesser known one of this that works for the heart, is, oh my gosh, I love that stone. It feels like home. So it's an investigation. It's a help. It's a companion on the journey that's there. And you could have several different prayer beads depending on what you need. And you take them with you and you grab the one that you need. And that comes with practice. When you feel you need for that day and that practice or how you're feeling in it. So do you see, this is the journey. We're not doing it alone. We have the names, we have teachings, If you choose to have me on your path as the voice on the internet, happy to be there. And you have things that help: incense, prayer space, certain minerals that you make your prayer beads with. These are our companions. And other people who are on the journey with us, other people who are religious or highly spiritual, who care about others. Whether we know them or not, when we do the practices, those frequencies we connect with in our practice, whether we know it or not, and that helps sustain us. The practice we did for the New Year's, Yahweh Ori, the light of God, that frequency is out there. We made it. We helped connect with it, and we locked it in. That's there to connect with. We are not alone. God is there. The principles of love, patience, wisdom, Eden, high vibrational spaces, they're there. Gates, doors open, waiting for us. The walk is to walk the journey to them, and those are our home. Our life is the journey home if we choose to walk it and have it as our destination. And may it be a beautiful, blessed, and guided one. And may it lead us to closer holiness. Amen. So why don't we take a little break and we'll do a little practice together, and that'll be that for today. So see you in a bit. Maybe like 5 minutes, okay? All right. Okay. I think we're all still connected here. So I invite you to use the name that you feel will be most helpful for you. We've been working on many different names, and but this is our individual journey. So it's really the name that we're at right now, where we're at right now. So here's some possibilities, but it's also the name where that you've discovered, the name that feels helps, that reduces the weight, the load, that helps feel like, wow, where have you been my whole life? The name that feels that is part of your heart or assists you for that, where feels like home a little bit. Yes? So if you're in front of your purse space, or take a moment or two, and then we'll start. Okay. So we'll start with the Shema. So we sort of activate our practice session. And then I'll say a name of God to sort of bring that energy into our space. And I say the name I'm going to use very reverently, but I would like to sort of, to the extent that I'm able to, charge and empower the space. And that way, you can take that and bring it into the name that you're currently using. Sort of, I want to kind of put the plug in the wall and you light up whichever name you feel called to use. Yes, does that work? And then we'll practice for maybe 20 minutes together. Okay, wonderful. So if you have a prayer bead, you take it in your hand, sort of blow on it, and like I put a little water on the stone that I'm using, and I've noticed that it really picks up oils off the hand, even though I wash my hands before using them. And now they seem clearer and they shine more. See, you learn by practice, and you learn to work with the name or the tool that you're currently working with, and that's how you come to deeper understandings. Yes? Okay. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Yahweh El Shaddai, 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 Yahweh Yahweh Vahe El Shaddai, 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 Yahweh Vahe El Shaddai.
תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, תרנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, תהרנו נורא. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, תהרנו נורא. נא גיבור דורשי ייחודך, כבבת שומרם, ברכם תרם, רחמי צדקתך, תמיד גומלם, חסין קדוש, חסין קדוש, ברוב טובך נהל עדתך, יחיד גאה לעמך פנה, זוכרי קדושתך, שבתנו קבל ושמע זעקתנו, יודע תעלומות. אנא בכוח גדולת ימינך, תרצה רוח, קבל רינת עמך סגבנו, תהרנו נורא. שבתנו קבל ושמע זעקתנו, יודע תעלומות, יודע
ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Thank you so much for joining me this Sunday. And may Yahweh El Shaddai bless us, bless our path, bless our week, bless our families, and bless our world. Amen. Until next week. Bye-bye.